16, 17 participants. What up, everybody?
Well, welcome everybody. We're super excited that you've joined us. I have the honor of introducing somebody who is just an all-around incredible human. He has so much energy, so much passion, and so much care for this industry. But a little bit about him is he's a multiple salon owner. He's a salon coach. He's an author. Here's his book. Get it? It's amazing. He's a product inventor. He's a motivational speaker. I mean, the list just goes on. And most recently, he has his own podcast now. So you get daily doses. You can just always have Kelly in your life. And he's somebody that truly has impacted and inspired me. I remember 12 years ago when I was a future professional and he came into the school and he was like, I'm going to tell you how to make $100,000. That's all. And he was just running around crazy. And I was like, who is this? But this is awesome. And I look at how much he's transformed, not only me, but himself over the years, and how much his message has gone from, yeah, we can get you to that $100,000, but let's talk about changing your life. And that's what we get to do today, is we get to hang out with this man who is just like a powerhouse. Grab your notebook, because here's the last time he spoke. You're going to be writing like crazy through everything that he says. And, we've just had the privilege of being surrounded by him for so long that I never take it. What's the word? I never take it for granted. Each encounter with you is truly a blessing. So thank you for saying yes and coming to hang out with us and, share some knowledge and answer some questions. And one thing that I wanted to kind of start with, you talked about it in one of your classes that you gave to the salon, is you talked about circumstance, happiness, joy, and mindset. And I love that you said joy forms a mindset, mindsets from conditioning. Conditioning comes from nouns. If you control the nouns in your life, you control your mindset. And I think right now, as we're transitioning back into the salons, and we've kind of been on pause for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where you have, our mindset's kind of been one of those things that's kind of gone like this. So I'd love for you to just kind of talk to us about that message that you were giving about how important mindset and nouns are.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and thank all the people on the call. And if it wasn't for these two people, I mean, Sean, you're very gracious. If it wasn't for you and Tina, there would be no Kelly Cardenas as you know it today. And what you guys have done for me and the belief system that you've had in me has been tremendous. But let's jump right into that, right? So I think the biggest thing right now is, and the transition that I'm having and the transformation that I'm having in my own life and in my own career, is a thing that's organizational change management. And if you guys write that down, organizational change management. This is not something that we look at until it actually hits us. We generally don't prepare. Like, we don't start dieting until we get fat, right? You know what I mean? We don't prepare for catastrophe until catastrophe happens. Then we run around with our head cut off and we try and fix every single thing. So what I want us to realize is that joy, the difference between joy and happiness, and you hit it right on the head. Like that's Sean, you helped me with presentations. Like, you've helped me for years with this. But I want you guys to realize that if you really control the nouns in your life, the people, the places, the things, and the ideas that are coming into your head, that's what's going to condition you. Your conditioning creates your mindset. And I want us to realize that it's not only in the coronavirus time that we do these kind of things. I believe that companies need to get ready. In the 6th chapter of my book, which was the sixth indicator, was the ability to adapt immediately. And what I found is as I've been speaking, I've actually spoke to more kids in 6 weeks than I have in a full year of traveling on the road. Organizational change management, right? And I'm doing it from my house. And I get done with the class in Tampa, and then I do one in Orlando, then I do one in Michigan, and then you know what? I get to hug my kids. So that's the positive side of it. And I want us to realize that we can't stop impacts from happening, but we can condition our body for the impact that possibly will come. And I would suggest this, and I'll hit this quick, is I would suggest reading the TB12 or TB12 method, which is the book. Tom Brady, for years and years and years and years and years and years, everyone thought that he's a machine, which he is. He's the greatest in the world, greatest has ever been. But every day after practice, he put his body through multiple car wrecks on purpose to get his body conditioned for the one car wreck that he would get in on a Sunday. And if we can do that with our businesses, we could do that with our relationships, we could do that with our finances, then when that impact happens, he does a thing, it's called strength, conditioning, and pliability. And that pliability is literally impact. And so he conditions his, like, when you look at the bones are covered by muscle, and muscle is made to be able to absorb the impact that the bone takes. That way it won't injure the bone. But most of us haven't conditioned our muscles correctly. So when we take an impact, our muscles are either so rigid, we're so tense in our business that when we take an impact, that muscle's so rigid that it actually impacts the bone and breaks the bone. Whereas if you make it pliable, that muscle will stop the impact from the bone and it'll absorb it. And what type of muscle do you have around your structure or your bones in your business that can take the impacts and soften the blow so you don't break the structures that you put in place for years and years and years?
Well, let's talk about the reality of that, Kelly. Like, what have you done to prepare yourself for this time?
I think one of the biggest things was, I'm not a Dave Ramsey guy, although I get a chance to be on the Dave Ramsey podcast.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it.
It's nuts, right? Now, but one of the biggest things he talks about is that he says, start off with a week, get a week's worth of expenses put in the bank, and then get to a month, and then get to 2 months. Well, my wife and I, we've been really disciplined on this. And, we've got, we put aside just in liquid, 7-8 months worth of bills. And I tell you, when this hit, it does suck because our businesses, are non-essential. But I think that was one of the biggest things. The second thing is what I told every student, what I want to tell all of you that are listening, is I want you to write this down. I'm perfectly wonderfully made. This was not something that I prepared for 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. This was something that my parents told me since I was a kid. I'm perfectly wonderfully made in the image of God. Anything contrary to that is a lie. And from this day forward, I will only accept truth. And that means that if I accept that truth, I realize that I'm perfectly wonderfully made. And if I'm perfectly wonderfully made, I'm exactly where I need to be at the exact time. And so I'm not going to get mad at my circumstances. I'm going to allow God to do his work and become God dependent, as Mike Rovner said in his book, Supernatural Business, which you all need to read. I become God dependent, not independent. And so for me, honestly, like, all the things that I get a chance to be able to do is all because of the grace of God. And he has put me in this place. And sometimes he puts me in places that I'm mad at, but he only puts me in places that will ultimately be for my purpose and what I'm doing as I move forward.
I love what you just said, Kelly, because Sean and I spent a whole month with salon owners just on foundation, fixing your foundation. So these are just two incredible ideas of how to fix your foundation. First and foremost, you've got to put money aside for a rainy day, as they say, for a storm. And that's what you did. You prepared yourself. And I want to talk about that here in a moment. But I also love the fact that you said, and you told our whole salon this, so you met with our salon team 3 times in a row, and you told us this, and I've been sharing it with the world every time I get an opportunity, because you shifted and changed my mindset, Kelly, because I don't know if it's a woman thing or what it is, but I had to keep repeating to myself over and over, I am perfectly wonderfully made. Anything contrary to that is a lie. And I will only believe the truth from this day forward. And so I had to actually memorize that, because I realized I didn't have that mantra in my head. And because I kept having like these bad attitudes, and I had to shift my mindset. And so I want to talk about that too, because that's about foundation and really, really developing great mindset. And that's what that is. And I love that, to be God dependent, not independent. That was huge. And I think that's part of our foundation that we talk about. So first and foremost, let's talk about that, because I think being God dependent is so important. And I am a woman of faith, and I know you are a man of faith as well too. And I think it's just so important important to talk about that, because I think that's what's helped with us, with our mindset being a little bit stronger as well.
Well, I think that part has helped me in so many different aspects. I mean, people, my mom passed away, almost 2 years ago, and I had Mother's Day yesterday, and people asked me like, "Are you doing okay?" My wife asked me if I'm doing okay, and it's tough. It's my second Mother's Day without a mom, and when I say without, I know where she is, and that's what I tell people. Like, I know 100% where my mom is, which made it okay on the day when she passed. I'm sad, but it's kind of like that friend who, gets to move to a new neighborhood and you're stuck in the ghetto. You're happy for your friend, although you would like him to stay with you. You would much rather have him in a nicer house. And so I think that when we start to talk about this, and I tell you, there's been cheers on this, Tina, and there's been the other side of being like, he started talking about God, I'm going to shut down. I just want you to know, whatever your God is, seriously, like whatever your God is, become God dependent. So, but watch this. If it's money, be careful. If your money is God, be careful, because if you become God dependent, you're going to see the coronavirus happen again in your life. If you are if circumstances are your God, when things are going good, or karma is, well, that's going to be awesome, but be careful, because when you think of just karma as being your God, you're human and you're going to mess up at some point. So that part of being God dependent, it really, 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 truly humbles you, because whenever I talk to you, Tina, I'm so humbled, because the only reason why I get the platform that I do is because you put me on. That's the only reason. And you are so humble in it and all those things, but you're the first person to believe in me when I was away from the company that I was with. You were the first one. And I wouldn't have a salons. There would be no Kelly Cardenas salons unless there was a Tina Black. There wouldn't be the notoriety and Paul Mitchell. There wouldn't be any of those things. So when I'm hanging out with you, I'm not puffed up and be like, yo, Tina, look what I did. It helps me to be humble and imagine on that even larger scale. Like, I wouldn't have breath in my lungs. I wouldn't have blood in my body. I wouldn't have a family if it wasn't for God. Therefore, I have to walk around saying like, I happen to show up, and that really keeps you humble.
Yeah, I love that. And I think going back to foundation, fixing your foundation is humility, be humble, and have gratitude. And so talk a little bit about that, because I think that's part of foundation right there too, because I don't think there's any way we could get through this crisis, this quarantine. And as we move forward, like, let's talk about that, because as we move forward into this new era, right, this corona economy, they're calling it, we're going to need that humility and that gratitude. So talk a little bit more about that, and what your specific measures are you going to take to be able to move forward in this new economy.
Well, what I've said, and it's probably an unpopular way of thinking of things, but for me, it's not about changing your business. Coronavirus is not about changing anything. This coronavirus, COVID-19, is about adjustments. And I want to emphasize this more than anything in the entire world. And I could be wrong. You could come back and be like, yo, Kelly, you're awful, and I can't believe who you are and what you're doing and things like that. But I don't understand it. I don't believe in it, right? But what I'm going to tell you is, if you look at Rome, was Rome built in a day? Nope. No. And so it's going to be minor adjustments. And so there's going to be adjustments. And what we did, what we're looking at is, we have to be humble and know that I think that true leadership is about serving the people who are leading you, right? And respecting the positions. And it's not a political thing for me, but I teach my kids, no matter who's in office, no matter who's the mayor, respect the position. I don't care if you like the person, but respect the position. Because if you degrade the position at some point, then the position will be tainted. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. So I have to do that with my company, realizing that, a part of me, old school, is like, you know what, I'm going to be a maverick and go against the system and all this stuff. There's that side of me. And then the other side is saying, well, if I'm going to lead people, I've got to serve the people who are leading me. Does that make sense? And so I think I mean, regulations are going to be huge. I believe what we're doing within ours is we're doing it in 3 stages or 3 phases. So we're opening in 3 phases. First phase is going to be very strict. It's going to be exceeding. And this is what I would say to every single hairdresser and salon owner. Exceed your regulations. Don't look at them and toe the line. Exceed them to a point where there's not even any question. And that's what we're doing. And it's extreme. And what we're asking for, concession with our guests and things like that. And then we're going to go to phase 2. Then we're going to go to phase 3, and phase 3 will ultimately be our new normal. But I think that as you're going through that, if your ego gets involved, which mine does, then you're going to be like, no, I've done it like this forever. I'm the man. I know what to do. And then you're going to stick to that, and you're not going to have the ability to adapt to the current circumstances.
So true. I love that you said, and let's talk about how are you going to exceed? What's your plan? Like, give me some examples of how you're going to exceed. Because I 100% agree. I think the one thing we've got to do is separate ourselves, because I think our guests are going to be looking and saying, okay, what are they doing differently? I know I am. We just got back into restaurants in Florida, and we went out to eat, and they are exceeding standards. They have a sanitation station table that you can go to and grab a bunch of towels. They have a bunch of little things that you can do, and going into the bathroom. And I'm like, I'm coming back. I went back the next day and ate again. And so, because I feel so comfortable because they exceeded my expectations.
Well, I think that's the biggest part. I mean, and again, Mike Rodner talked about this in his Supernatural book, our Supernatural Business book, which every one of you on the call needs to get, Supernatural Business. And what he said is, when you have a contract, you honor the contract. But to gain a relationship, you have to exceed the expectations of that contract. And we as hairdressers, I mean, guys, if you're not doing that already, my dad always taught me, if somebody pays you $5 for something, give them $10 worth of service, and they're always in your pocket. If you're working for $10 an hour, give them $20 worth of service. Does this make sense? So this is how we're exceeding. If I could share this with you, I could read it. This is going out to our guests. I haven't even released it to our guests yet, but I can read it to you guys if you would like. It says, an important note to our guests. We want to thank you all for your patience and support through these unprecedented times. I cannot stress enough how much we have missed and love all of you. Please take the time to read this letter in its entirety, as it will lay out very strict but necessary guidelines for our grand reopening. The complete focus for us is the health and safety of our team, you, our guests, and our community. So make sure and write that down. If you look at the safety of your team, your guests, and then your community, don't get it backwards, because your team has got to be number 1. The customer is not always right. Your team is. If you love your team, then they will love your guests. But if you love your guests, sometimes you'll alienate your team. So team, guest, community, in that order. And for me, this is General Kelly Cardenas reporting for service. Okay. So this isn't like happy-go-lucky, like I'm hanging out. In these times, I believe that as leaders, we need to be generals in the army. And honestly, we're leading our people into war. These are live rounds. This is not a drill anymore. And things can't be like, oh, how do you feel today? It's not like that. Not in phase 1. Not if you want to be successful in this new coming economy. Let's see. We are opening in 3 phases. These 3 phases are non-negotiable. As we adhere and exceed, or as we must adhere and exceed the strict regulations that have been placed on us as a business. We are counting on your support and understanding through this process as we navigate towards our new normal. Please review carefully as we roll out the changes you will see in phase 1. So we wanted to make sure, and don't use my words, you got to use your own, but what I would suggest is you let your guests know that you love them. This is the stages, right? So write this down. Make sure your guests know that you love them. Number 2, let them know why you're doing what you're doing. And we're doing it for the health of our team, our guests, and our community. And then you can bring in the fact that there's going to be absolutely no exceptions. There's not going to be the guest, Miss Jones, who always comes in, and you know me, everything's cool. I don't need to wear a mask, or I don't need to do this. but you are going to have those people, and you got to understand. So you got to go love, you got to go why, and then you got to go strict. Okay, with no so phase one, masks will be required for stylists and guests. Temperature checks will be requested, and you're asked to stay at home if you're ill. We will practice social distancing between our stations and our areas. I'll get into that later, so ask me about that. We will continue to individually sanitize every touch point and tool between each guest, in parentheses, as we've done for the last 14 years, but haven't talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Beverage bar will be temporarily unavailable. Please bring your drinks if needed. Only scheduled guests will be allowed. There will be no waiting area. Text when you arrive and let us know and we'll let you know when your stylist is ready for you. No complimentary services at all. This is huge because every salon has complimentary services. For this phase one, none of them at all. Haircuts and colors will leave with damp hair in a ponytail and a braid. Or a braid recommended, or a recommended hair treatment. So there'll need to be no blow dryers at all. Extension services will be done in two separate, this is huge. Extension services will be done in two separate reservations. One, the removal and color if needed. And number two, your second reservation will be on another day or later that day. Once you go home and blow dry your own hair, you'll come back, arrive with clean and dry hair for installation. This was a blind spot that we had that we figured out if this is going to be inconvenient for our guests. But again, we're looking at the health of our team, the health of our you as the guest, and the community. No blowout appointments at this time. Please be prepared to pay with credit card or debit card, so no cash. Since the inception of our company over 14 years ago, a blow dry service has always been complimentary with a haircut, color, highlights. Therefore, our prices will remain the same. We appreciate your understanding in rolling out these changes. Please know that there will be absolutely no exceptions at this time. Starting May 12th, our reservation team is working hard to get each and every one of you scheduled, starting with the pre-booked appointments from March 15th and forward. Now booking online will not be available since there are a lot of moving parts to make sure that each guest gets accommodated. You could send us a request and we will do our very best to get you scheduled in a timely manner. Please understand that we appreciate your patience and grace as we get back to business. Hold on for 1 second. This is the end. Thank you, and what you can count on is the unbelievable hearts and souls of Kelly Cardenas Salon team members being focused on your safety, health, and of course your amazing hair. We look forward to seeing you soon. Kelly Cardenas Salon team.
That's the best letter I've heard so far, by the way. Brilliant. I love it. Can you talk a little bit about the blow dries? Because I've seen some salons are doing it and some aren't. Why did you decide to opt out of that?
So I think because this is what I'd write down for every one of you. Write down shame no one. Shame no one. And this is tough for me. This is very, very tough for me personally. I'm talking personal. I'm not talking as a salon owner. Not talking about it as a hair or as a Motivational educator either. Okay, not a business owner, not nothing. I'm talking about Kelly, the dude who is like, I've lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, you know what I mean? And I've been kicked in the face for my whole entire life. I've been impacted in so many different ways, and I've been smashed, throughout my life. I had, 2 years ago, my mom passed away, and then within 6 months, 6 other relatives that were close to me died within that time. Within a calendar year, I had, 2 of the highest earner in Chicago leave, and then I had to let go 2 of the highest earners in my Hard Rock location, and then had a full walkout. That was in July, and then August I had the walkout. So in a course of 4 months, after those 7 people in my family died within that calendar year, I lost $1.6 million. So I'm saying I've made a career out of getting kicked in the face and then being real happy about it and telling people stories about it. So speaking from that side, you can't shame anyone though. Although, like literally, if it meant for me to go out, and this is just me talking real, which I probably shouldn't be doing on these things. If it was up to me and my family needed to eat, I could tell you, you're damn sure that I would go out, hunt and eat and be in fear of maybe a bear or a tiger or, whatever you want to call it, the coronavirus, whatever it is, if my family needed to eat. So I want you to know, if you're out there and you want to open your salon because you need to have your family eat, I'm not going to shame you. I'm going to say, cool, I love you, high five. In the event that you want to stay home and keep your family safe and keep the world safe, and that's your number one, high five. But we can have no shaming in this area. We have no time for it. Meaning that if it is important to someone, this is my mom taught me about marriage. And I didn't like it. She said, if it's a big deal to your wife, it's a big deal. And I think that we have to look at it in our community. If one of your guests thinks it's a big deal, that there are things blowing around and it could get to them, it's a big deal. So why not take it out and accommodate and just make sure that everyone feels safe for a time. And then we could get back. So I wanted to not only adhere, because everyone's going to adhere, I want to exceed so there's not any question in your mind that you're in a safe place and that we're taking your health into consideration.
Yeah. We have some questions. Which salons are opening right now? Because you're in Chicago, you're in Vegas, and you're in California. So which ones are actually opening now?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Okay.
We got the opening order on the 9th, which was 2 days ago. But we're not opening until the 19th.
Right.
We are taking precautions. We're going to, we're easing our crew into it. We're talking with them today, making sure that they're safe and they feel good. And then on the 19th, we're also, what I would suggest is have a soft opening, but do it with your staff. Mm-hmm. So we're doing it with our staff for 2 days and we're all doing each other's hair. We're going to do dry runs on the procedures. So you know how to be able to function, because we're going to be, cutting. If they're getting cut, then they're leaving damp. If they're getting color, they're getting cut and then they're leaving damp. So we have to go through this process. And I want them to be, by the time that we get, a guest in the place, then we want to make sure that they're good.
Are you adjusting the time that they spend? And is it just one stylist per guest? What is your decision there? And also, are you going to be utilizing assistants still? What's your process going to be as you roll out in phase 1?
I'm still going to use assistants. Again, this is a personal thing, and for our company, still going to use assistants. They're all licensed hairdressers. So in some states, although Nevada is not, Nevada has no capacity rules from the government.
Okay,
Nothing.
No capacity. So you can have as many people as you want in the salon. Okay.
You can. Now, we are going to, when we're looking at it though, the great thing is, and what I want you to write down next is efficiency. Okay?
Yes.
So I think you have to look at this from a lot of different standpoints. And what I learned from Tina Black is, I asked her a question. I said, Tina, can you give me your advice? And I didn't like you at the time when you did this. But I said, Tina, can I get your advice? And you were like, absolutely, big smile, and I'll help anybody. And I said, okay, cool. And I told you the thing. And then you said, what is your goals professionally? What is your goals personally? What is your goals financially? And what is your goals spiritually? And I was like, that's not what I asked. I asked you about this question. And you said, I can't answer the question unless I know your goals. And then I just was mad. And I wrote down my goals in those areas. And then you said, when you have a decision, you don't need to ask advice from me. You don't need to go to a mentor. You need to go to those 4 things. And if they're in line with those 4 things, then make the decision. And so I think that those kind of things are big, where I think that we need to look at our number 1, the health and safety, right? So write this down. Health and safety of your guests. That's number 1. Of your team, your guests, and your community. Number 2, you have to look at your business. Okay? And we have to look at the health of our business. We have to look at the health of our team in our business. We have to look at the health of the guests in our business. We have to look at the community in our business. And then the 3rd one, which is the nasty word that no one's going to talk about right now, but I'm going to talk about it. Profitability. Mm-hmm. There is not one salon on this call, not one, that can survive on 30% of your business. None of you. I know the national averages. I consult salons all over the country and all over the world. On a 4 to 6 to possibly 10, if you're great, % profit margin, there is no way on God's green earth that you will ever survive on 30% of your business. There's no way. So I'm your efficiency coach. You've known me, Tina, you've known me, Sean, and in these times, efficiency is the #1 thing you need to look at. Next to, now this is 1B. 1A is health. 1B is the efficiency of the guest. Now, it goes right into line with the health of the guest, because the longer the guest's in, the more touch points they have with people.
Mm-hmm.
So your guest is going to want to get in and get out as soon as humanly possible. But that is not possible unless you are efficient in your cutting systems, in your highlight systems, in your coloring systems, and your checkout procedure, and your sanitizing. I mean, guys, I want you to realize that now a lot of people are tuning out right now. So they're like, oh, now he's going into capitalist Kelly. I'm not at all. But what I am telling you is the reality of the situation. We've got to look at the health and safety, right? Our business, and then the profitability. But if you put your profitability ahead, it's not going to work out. So I'm putting the health and safety first. And that's the reason why we're not blow drying. Although the result is going to be my stylist, and mark my words on this, my stylist, because of the way that they're trained. And if your people aren't trained, again, I'm that efficiency coach for you in the technical side, and Sean and Tina could talk about this. But if you don't go in, zeroed in, knowing exactly what you're going to do with that haircut before you start in, and you have a 25-minute haircut, that guest is going to start to get nervous. They're going to start to get weary because more and more guests are going to step into place. I believe, and mark my words on this, Sean and Tina, our production, in line with all the safety regulations, exceeding them, will be higher. And our stylist will do better financially because of the efficiency. But they'll also be the standard as far as the health and safety of the guest through this. And I believe on the outset of it, Tina, is this is going to create an opening, because as big as my ego is, there is a lot of guests who sit for 45 minutes or 30 minutes or 25 minutes, get their hair blow dried, and like, hey, I love it. And they would much rather be at home with their kids or at soccer practice. So it's going to create a new service that's going to be an express service when they're done. That's going to say, I'd like my color done. I'd like my haircut done. Can you tie it in a ponytail? And I can go home to spend time with the people who are really important to me. And can you please give me back the most important thing that you can ever give, which hairdressers think it's giving your time is the most important. That's not true. It's giving back their time.
Wow. This is really, really powerful. I love this. And I think this goes along with a foundation of really setting up a good plan. So talk to those salons right now that have kind of struggled in this area, because I think this is where we kind of need to back up and say, okay, maybe you need to spend a little bit more time training your team right now and get them ready for this, because maybe you weren't like Kelly and maybe you're not ready. And maybe you need to spend a little bit more time, because the time that you put into your team and training them is going to pay off in dividends. And I love the fact that you talked about profitability, because we still got to look back and we have to say, okay, great, we're going to open up 6-7 days a week when we used to be open up 4 days a week. Okay, now you've got more days. So what is that per hour? Like, are we going to kill our stylists? Like, that's the whole thing. And I said to my salon leaders today, Kelly, I said, you guys, the last thing I want to do is wear you all out. Like, we've got to talk about this. We need to make sure that you're efficient and that you're not exhausted. Because I think one of the things that they're going to get, it's going to be weary, is wearing that mask all day. They're going to be hot and it's going to be hard on them. So they got to get outside and, get some air, that sort of thing as well too.
Well, I love this, because look at what Jade Smith just said. As a salon guest, this is something I would absolutely love. Getting my hair blown out is my least favorite part of the whole service. Yeah. I think as hairdressers, we have the tendency to have quite a bit of ego, right? And not stay humble, like you were talking about, in the humility, and realize that, for us as we move forward, guys, you don't want to kill your staff. And I love this, where people are like, oh yeah, we're going to open 7 days a week and 50 hours a day and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm a hairdresser. Like, that's where I was, where I cut my teeth in this business. I don't want to work 14 hours. I don't want to do those kind of things. What I want to be able to do is go in and have quality, right? And imagine this. If I took your blow drying away, which I've been showing people how to do for years by having an assistant with them, if I can take your blow dries out, how much time do I give you back?
Yeah.
45 minutes on each guest. You do 8 guests, that's almost 8 hours of your time back. How many more guests can you see with a high quality, never losing the heart? And I had a woman fight me on this the other day. I was doing a Facebook Live and she was like, I'm so sad that you're saying this, Kelly, because I followed you for years. And you're saying just you need quantity as opposed to quality. And I'm all about quality. And I said, that's the sound of a person who's really slow.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we don't realize is, when you were saying like, what can we do? What we can do is, we did the three-part training with you guys, right? And we did it on culture coaching. So, but that culture coaching was setting the foundation for why is it that it's so important. So when we went through technique, right? When we went through technique to help people to understand, if you understand your alignment, you understand your assignment, and you execute, you can do things in such a small amount of time that's so potent, that's so efficient. And so I was at Jiffy Lube the other day, guys, and I pulled in, and it was like a pit crew. They changed my oil, rotated my tires within 15 minutes. And I didn't ask them, can I stay longer so you don't seem like you did really good quality. I was like, I will pay you more if you could get me back to my family. And in 15 minutes, they did. So I think that it's starting to look at the industry in that type of, now, not every person is going to do this. Not every guest is going to be like, yo, I want to do this. But it's going to open up where, can you imagine as a hairdresser? Like, let me ask you this, guys that are on the call. If you're taking over 7 to 11 minutes to cut wet hair on long layers, then get a hold of your boy. Holler at your boy. If you are taking longer than 20 to 25 minutes for a full head of foils, holler at your boy. I've got a training system for it. If you're taking longer than 5 to 7 minutes for a base application, holler at your boy. I've got a system that works every single time and has made millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, not only for myself, but for hairdressers all over the country. And if we stick to simple systems, I think that we need to study in and out in this time. Burgers, fries, done. Burgers, fries, shakes, done. Haircuts, color or highlights, conditioning treatments, out. And we need to help the guests realize that this is a thing that I talked about the other day. If you're a salon and you do not have an online store that can sell product right now, write this down. You need to start an online store right now. It's as easy as Shopify. It's $29 a month. And what I would do, and I'm going to give you can I give them the framework for it?
Yes, please.
This is gonna make a lot of people mad, but I'm gonna tell you that's already happening, and it's been happening for almost 3 years. The only people that are gonna get mad is your distributor, because what you want to do is you want to set up your Shopify and you want to load. This is going to be manual, but you got the coronavirus right now, so you got time. You're gonna load every single product that you use into your Shopify with the descriptions. Just copy and paste it. It's gonna take a long time. I use all Paul Mitchell. That's all I have on my website. Once you get that done, you're gonna contact your distributor. You're going to tell your distributor, I would like to add you as my fulfillment on my Shopify, which all it takes is an email. And when a guest orders from you, you're going to do this. So if you're on the call, I want you to do this. Tina, can you do this real quick? Sean, can you do this real quick? Okay. And then I'll show you why. You're going to grab your phone like this, and then I want you to go like this. Do this. Grab your phone and just do this. Okay. You can do that. Okay. And you're going to push the fulfill button. And when you push the fulfill button, guess what's going to happen? An email is going to shoot to your distributor. Your distributor is going to ship out the product, and you're never going to touch it. And people are going to say, nah, my distributor wouldn't do it. Yet, it's already happening. We've been doing it for 3.5 years. If you're not doing that right now, what I would suggest is that there's a couple of things, a couple of blind spots that I ran into. Number one is going to be negotiate with your distributor a flat rate on your shipping. Negotiate with your distributor a flat rate on your shipping. This is going to be key. And then on your Shopify, if you just put to your distributor, maybe you negotiate like a $3 shipping fee that's flat rate, or $5, whatever. On your Shopify, what I would do it is $7. That way you can add a little bit on for your salon as you go. But this also, in the future, guys, I don't believe salons will have product in them. It's just another thing to sanitize.
Yeah, agreed.
Have TVs and have people order online, but get them in the motion right now. So in the future, as the futures look, then all you'll be doing, and I could tell you this, my stats, and this is very low, but my stats over this last month, I checked it for 4 weeks. We sold just over $4,500 in product, and I touched none of it.
Wow. That's incredible. I love it. And I agree with you. I think we've got to get rid of our storefronts that we have because, you know, it's all just sitting there. It's sitting inventory and who knows what's happening with that inventory sitting there. So talk about that process because I know you kind of talked about side chair checkout as well too and making sure that's all done before the cape comes off. Talk about that process because I think it's an efficient way of doing things instead of the old fashioned way of let's walk them to the front desk to check out. I know you're becoming cashless as well too. Talk about what that process might look like because I love the efficiency that you have going on.
Well, I think that, you know, we've done this for years, although we did it manual. You know, probably 7-8 years ago, we started doing what we called an express checkout. And we just did old school. We got like the restaurant little holders and brought your receipt over and had a pen, was like, you know, would you like an express checkout while you're getting your blow dry done? Now there's ways to, you know, have this touchless, whether it be if you're using Mevo, they have ways to do it. We use STX, which is Salon Transcripts, and they have the availability to do it. We have what's called a point system. So the point system is wireless, and you walk over, you know, you walk over to the guest, you type in how much their service was, and you don't even touch the card. They just slide it in, slide it out, and, you know, you're done. And then we're actually, we're moving on to Tippy too, and I would suggest this for every salon owner.
Good idea.
Tippy, because guys, last year, I mean, let's look at let's look why I'm doing this. Number one is the health and safety of my team. Number two, health and safety of the guest. Number three, health and safety of the community, because the guest is going to touch the community, right? So less touch points. I don't have to pull cash out of my drawer anymore. It goes directly into my stylist bank accounts. And so Tippy is phenomenal that way. It costs the salon owner $300 a year, and the guest incurs the cost of tipping the person, as opposed to the salon incurring the cost of the credit card charge. Now, some people could be like, as a stylist, why are you trying to? I could tell you this. Last year, in one location, I spent over $8,000 paying people their tips. Because of the credit card charges. Right. Now, it's not something that I'm saying, oh, I'm trying to, you know, be a miser in this, but I mean, I have 3 locations, do the math. You know, and so the profitability is last, but the safety is first of the health of it. So, but what I would suggest is, you know, even if you have, you know, anything, I mean, any type of booking system right now outside of a paper book, which if you still have a paper book, then please go trade in your 8-track. For a CD player at least. But what I would suggest is almost every system has a way. And if not, like, you know, get your ghetto on and walk over with an iPad and be like, you know, here you go. Because people are going to want to get in and get out as soon as possible.
Yeah. So basically you're doing an iPad checkout with your system. And is that where your front desk team, or whatever you want to call them, concierge, they're going to walk over and do the side chair checkout and then have the app pulled up of Tippy? Would you like to tip your stylist? What does that look like? What's the dialogue?
Well, the Tippy, we're going to let the guests know that, you know, Tippy is a different transaction. There is a kiosk one, but also they just come out, which I haven't got mine yet, but they did come out with a QR code. And the QR code, you just get your camera and scan it over the top of the QR code, and then it pops up and you choose which stylist you want to send money to, and then you click it. I mean.
Nice. Yeah. Go as touchless as possible. And the other thing that I'm excited about, and I see a lot of questions in the box, so we'll get this settled. I'm so excited to be able to clean our salons and get rid of superfluous stuff that doesn't matter and that we don't have to clean. And I know you're doing the same. Your salons have always been completely empty of stuff. I don't think you've ever had one magazine in your salon, but I'm so excited to get rid of magazines and anything superfluous. Talk about that to salon owners that have items in it that they shouldn't really have.
Well, I think that this is more, honestly, I think it's more of a technology situation than it is a COVID situation. I'm not changing my business because of COVID. I'm changing my business because I think Star Wars.
Yeah.
I've told you guys in private conversations, Tina, over time, and with Sean, I've told you that I mean, I'm going to have holograms in the salon at some point doing consultations for guests. I'm going to have video on each station that you'll be able to tune into, and you'll have to pay for a haircut class that'll happen in real time. This stuff is going to happen. I mean,
Love it.
It's awesome that we've got this situation now that we can say, oh, wow, now you all have to use a credit card or we're going cashless. Now you can't, I would be careful of this though, because you can't go cashless because you want to go cashless. You could go cashless because of COVID, but in Chicago, when businesses went cashless, they said it was discrimination against people who didn't have cards. So you got to be careful. Although at these times, you can conveniently go cashless because of the health, because of your business, and because of the profitability. Does this make sense?
Yep.
So I think that, again, I don't think that it's a pandemic situation. I think it's a wake up, dinosaur hairdressers. Mm-hmm. It's the 2000s. Like, there are still people in our business, that in our industry, that are functioning like dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. You can't anymore. But let's get excited about it and not be like, oh, what are all the regulations? No, let's exceed. Let's go to Star Wars and say, like, how could I work 4 days a week, right? One of the days, the fifth day, or maybe work 3 days a week. Maybe the fifth day is all virtual consultations where you do Zoom calls with all your guests, getting prepared. You have all your stats and they walk in. You already have everything set. There's no variation. You have your color mix. Bang, bang, bang. You put it on in 5 to 7 minutes. If you've gone through our training, you cut them in 7 to 11 minutes. If you've gone through our training, if you need to highlight them, 20 to 25 minutes. If you've gone through our training, and I'm out.
An hour. Yeah.
And I tell you, imagine salon owners like us, Sean, Tina, imagine us opening locations that are like that absolutely have no blow dryers in them at all.
Love it. This is powerful stuff, Kelly. So let's back up a little bit. So instead of opening more hours and more days, you're going to continue with your same schedule that you have, but being more efficient by not doing some of the services such as blow dries.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning, if we do extend the hours, we'll just shift it where if we have 8 hairdressers, 4 of them will be on in the morning for 6 hours. 4 of them be on in the night. So now you have a 6-hour workday, but think about this. If I can, which I know I can, because Sherry Cherubino has been a guest for mine for 20 years, and it wasn't because of COVID that I did this, it was because of her time, and she's the CFO of Circus Corporation, right? So Christine, so she's very important. Her next door neighbor, she doesn't like me to say this, her next door neighbor, like actual next door neighbor, not in a neighborhood, but next door neighbor is Floyd Mayweather. So you can imagine what level of woman she is. Yeah. She gets a highlight, base color, shampoo. We don't skimp on the shampoo, conditioning treatment, blow dry, haircut, out the door, 57 to 59 minutes.
Awesome.
And she stayed with me for 20 years because I respect her time. So look at this. If now we start to truly focus, and you won't get it right off the bat, but imagine if I just did every hour and a half for a hairdresser with no blow dry, every hour and a half, and you did an average ticket now of $200, a $50 haircut, a $125 on your highlight, and then $25 conditioning treatment that they wear home. You got $200. You do 4 of those in a 6-hour shift. You got an $800 day. That's 5 days a week. That's 4,000. 4,000 cut in half is 2,000. 2,000 times 50 weeks in a year is $100,000, and you're working 6 hours a day. Yeah. Only seeing 4 guests. Not blow drying and not going home to your family so depleted that as a hairdresser that you're like, I just want to fall on the floor. I'm sick and tired of seeing all these memes of like, oh, look at me during the holidays. Look at me during this time. I'm just completely exhausted. My brother's a lawyer. He ain't exhausted in the holidays. He works when he works, and when he doesn't work, he doesn't work. And I think that we need to take some of this COVID time and build our businesses around our life as opposed to our life around our businesses.
Wow. Okay. Drop the mic. That one. That's really powerful, Kelly. And I think you're shifting my mindset. I know my salon leaders are on here. I know Sean's mind's shifting. I could see his face. We're just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I love this. So you talked a little bit about social distancing, what that's going to look like. Can we touch a little bit on that, of what your decision is? Are you going to do plexiglass? I've seen salons putting it all over their salons. What's your thought process with that?
Again, no shaming, no shame in your game. You know what I mean? You want to wear some Ed Hardy today? Cool, awesome. You're high five, bro. You want to wear Birkenstocks with socks? High five. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you do your thing. I'm not going to put plexiglass. I'm not turning my place into a check cashing business. Okay. Although I will use plexiglass with the shampoo bowls because they're very close. What we're going to do, here's Mike Rovner's book, and I'm going to use it as my salon. You need to get this book. It'll change your life. So here's my salon. All my salons are built in rectangles like this. Okay. So I'm going to turn it like this. So you're like a CAD drawing, right? So you can kind of see it. Okay. So this would be my front door. This would be my back door. Yeah. Mike Rovner, where that's at, that's the back room. And then in between Mike Rovner and this is going to be my wash house. Got it? Stylist stations are going to be on the walls. I use the walls so I don't have to buy stations that are upstanding. This is an economical issue. I space my stations out from center of chair to center of chair, 60 inches. From center of chair to center of chair. Now, some of you are saying, that's not 6 feet. It's not. It's only 5 foot. And it's from center of chair to center of chair. This is optimal when you're utilizing a salon model, write this down, of wanting to create $1,000 in service for every square foot that you have. $1,000 in service or in revenue for every square foot you have. Meaning, if you have 1,000 square foot, that's $1 million salon. I didn't come up with this. I learned this from Van Council, one of the most genius guys in the whole industry. And if you think that I'm a, I don't know what I'm talking about, look at him. He's got 8 salons, over 400 employees, and he does $29 million a year. Mm-hmm. I have the tendency to listen to people who are doing stuff like that. So what I did, and I caution you, please do not change your whole business, because make adjustments. You don't know how this thing is going to play out. Mm-hmm. Social distancing is going to be something today, but in 6 months, it might not be. And if you adjust your whole salon based off of 6 feet apart, and then it goes down to 3 feet apart, you're going to be wasting square footage that you could be using for revenue. Hear me out. Here's my stations. Here, now, and we've got them numbered in system. Okay? So we've got 1 through 6 here, or 1 through 5 here, 6 through 8 here. They're numbered. If you want to know why, get in touch with me. We'll get you my information, and I'll take you through on a training system on these things. What we're doing with station number 1, we're keeping it exactly where it's at. My blow dryers, freestyle systems, will be taken out, so there won't even be a blow dryer in the place. Station number 2 will be moved back, still in line with this mirror, but back. So the diagonal is so much easier to accommodate 6 feet than going this way 6 feet. So all I'm going to do is slide my chair back into the center of the salon. Still being able to see the view of the mirror, not having to change where the mirror is at. Station number 3 will be exactly where it was. Station number 4 will be moved back. Station number 5 will be where it's at. Station number 6 will be moved back because station number 2 is moved back. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Then station number 7 will stay in place, and number 8 will move back. So it'll look like a zigzag in our salon this way, which will maximize.
Brilliant.
And what I could tell you this, guys. Okay, for every woman, I'm excited right now, if you can't tell. Because the transformation for me, Tina, is this is going to be my business as we move forward. I'm not going to really even have time for other things that I thought that I was going to be doing, because I'm going to be spending so much time with companies, not only salons, but companies working on their systems and their efficiency systems to be able to put them in line, that I'm not going to have any time for anything else. And if you could see by the stuff that's pouring out of my heart right now and my face right now, this is where my joy is. But I can tell you this, if you're a woman and you've ever had a breakup, ask yourself, did I ever cut my hair off because of that breakup? Yes, you did. Did you ever color your hair dark when you were blonde before because your boyfriend liked blonde and you said, and I'm going to color it dark? Well, what happened the next week? You got back with your boyfriend. And then what happened? You were mad at your hairdresser. I was that hairdresser. Guys, do not change your whole business. Do not cut your business's hair off. Do not change it from blonde to red. Adjust it. Change your bangs. Change the part. Add a couple highlights in the front. See how this thing plays out. Because can I say something that I haven't said publicly?
Please.
I'm going to get hate mail for this, but I love it. I believe in the absolute, I believe, and I'm putting all my faith in, the absolute worst part and trait of the American people. And I'm betting on it. I'm betting my everything on it. You know what that is?
Fear?
American people have a really short memory.
True.
And I'll tell you this, when 9/11 happened, I was supposed to fly that day. Everyone freaked out, said everything's going to change. The whole world is going to change. It's going to turn upside down. And everyone was when I went through TSA 2 weeks later, everyone was high-fiving, kumbaya, giving each other hugs. They were saying, man, I'm so glad that we're safe, and they're taking all these precautions. But I fly today, and I watch the line, and when there's a long line, there ain't one happy person in it. Why? Because it's inconveniencing people's lives. And I can tell you this, that things will be heightened until people are inconvenienced. And when they become inconvenienced, then the people are going to start to say, well, maybe. And I've already watched this happen. I have friends that would go to the grocery store in the first 3 weeks of this thing happening. They would go to the grocery store. They would bring their groceries in. I'm not shaming anyone. I love everybody. They would bring their groceries into their garage. They would sanitize everything that they could. They would leave their groceries in their garage for 3 to 4 hours and then go in the garage and pick it up. And you know what my friend told me? I'm tired. I'm tired of doing that. She said, you know what, the other day, I didn't tell any of my friends, but I just brought my groceries right in my house. So I can tell you this, if you're going to do dividers, which we are going to do in our wash house, make sure that you can take them out. Make sure that you're not going to construct a place based on COVID. Base it on what's in your heart. Base it on what's in your heart. Be safe. Business, profitability. But I tell you, if you put in permanent structures that you can't take out.
Yeah.
Because people are going to, I mean, Tina, think about it. People are going to want to be safe. You know, they're going to want to be safe. That's the number one issue. But I am not, and this is just my own thing, I am not going to be known as the safe salon. That's not my brand. It's not my brand. I'm going to be known as the salon that builds phenomenal people who happens to do hair that is really, 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 really safe.
Yeah.
But I believe that if we go after this thing, I think that thing is going to be a commodity.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I want to end this out with Sean and I spent an entire month just on fixing your leadership. And it's interesting because we were coaching some of our salon owners, and one salon owner that I was coaching, I was listening to her entire staff. And I would have to say, out of the 25 staff members she had, there was only 2 that were not afraid to go back to work. The rest of them stated, I'm not ready to go back to work. So talk to that salon owner right now, because, you know, I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. And so talk to that salon owner right now. So that salon owner that's really struggling with their team, that the majority of their team is not ready to go back. They're scared. Like, they're just so afraid.
Well, I want to speak to 2 sides. Number one, from the employee standpoint, we want to make sure and love and respect the people, make sure that they're good. I also want us as owners, and I know that there's stylists on this, and I know that there's owners on this. I wanted you to know that owners and stylists speak different languages. Okay? If you don't think that, you're sadly mistaken. And this is shown through time. I believe that relationships are all about expectation. It's not about changing the person, it's changing your expectation of the relationship. This was a hard one for me to swallow. And if some of my team is on, so be it. I had to realize that when you take the money out of the equation, relationships change. And I would say to the salon owner, I would communicate, because the reason why we fail at certain things is because of communication. It's not because of what's happening. It's just the way in which we communicate it. So understand and know their language. A lot of times they're fearful, but I can tell you this, a lot of people aren't as fearful as they are comfortable because they're getting $600 extra on their check.
Right.
And most of these kids, most of these stylists are getting paid more to sit at home than they did in the salon. Now, I could tell you this though, it's only going to last for 16 weeks.
Right.
And as a salon owner, I would make sure that you communicate, and you communicate with them. And also too, the salon owner, in the event that you get an open date and you send a letter out to your people that offering them their job back, once you offer them their job back and they refuse it, that's when they come off unemployment. And I'm not using that as a strong arm tactic, but I'm giving people free choice to be able to come back. But I think that this is a way for you to really look at your team. And in the event that your team, and I'm dealing with this too, in the event that your team doesn't want to come back, it's not because they're bad. It's just because we haven't communicated as a leader the importance of what it is that we're going to do. Maybe it's that they want to feel safe. Maybe it's that they want to feel whatever. So that's why I said we adhere and exceed. So you make sure. And then there's going to be the wild card, the kid that's like, you know what, I want to stay in my house for the rest of my life. Okay, maybe that wasn't something that you needed anyways moving forward. Maybe an opportunity to start looking at your team and say, are these the crew and the team that you've built, which you did, but is this the type of result that you want, or is this a type of result that you're simply getting? And then I would look at starting to construct the type that you want as opposed to what you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, talk to that salon owner that they actually have, that person coming to the salon that is afraid, and maybe it's going to be toxic to that environment because they're consistently talking about that. So talk to them, because I can foresee that happening, Kelly, from some of the salon owners that we're coaching.
Well, what I would say is, honestly, and I talked to you about this, I mean, you're going to shed. In this time, you're going to shed. You're going to shed things that sometimes you don't need. And, in the event that a person, and I could tell you this, I had a girl who was my top earner that got to a point where she didn't want to be there anymore. And she was poisoning the environment, although she was bringing in a ton of money. Mm-hmm. And this is where principles come into play. As a leader, you got to look at, is your integrity worth a dollar figure? If it is, it's not called integrity, it's called prostitution. So what I would look at and say is, what's the good of everyone involved? And as a leader, you can't just look at one particular individual. You got to look at the whole. And if that person is, if you're going to save one, which the reason I'm saying this is because I've done this and you've watched me do this, Tina, and a conversation that we had personally that I'm not going to go into specifically. But when I called you and said that I let this person go, you said to me, and I quote, "I wonder why you hadn't done it years and years and years ago, because it wasn't in line with who you were." Mm-hmm. So I think of this as a salon owner and a stylist opportunity. If that's not the environment that you want to be in, then go find someplace else. But I could tell you this, if you're working in a salon, you got a salon owner that's willing to open and willing to help you and willing to do all those things. Guys, that kid that's out there on their own, can you imagine? Like, one of the fastest hairdressers that I know in my life told me the other day, she opened up and she said she's the fastest and most efficient. She didn't blow dry, and without blow dry, she was still an hour behind because she was having to do all the sanitation. So working in a team is so important during this time, because your team can be that pit crew to help you to be able to get to the next guest. Does that help, Tina?
That's incredible. I love that you said that because I think we're in this era of, I heard it's 60% of hairstylists that are leaving salons and going to salon suites. And yeah, I think that's, for some people, but I don't think it's for most people, kind of based on what you said. I think just being a part of a team. So talk a little bit more about that. And I know we're at the end. I wish we could go for hours because this is so incredible. You won't believe everybody that's responding to this, Kelly, which is amazing. Talk a little bit about that and talk to that stylist first and foremost, but talk to the owner, how they can fix their leadership to continue to attract people so that they can keep them, so they don't have them leave to go into these salon suites.
Well, I think it's a long-term, it's a long-term play and it's a long-term answer. So, as you know, and I know, there's never going to be any quick fixes. I think one of the biggest things is people, I remember when you and I were talking and we were driving, I was in the back of the car and I remember exactly where we were. We were on the way to the airport, you and Brianna were driving and you turned to me and you were like, I'm concerned, because this was right when you started the salon very, very early, different team than you have now. And you said, I know what the answer is. We're lacking culture. And I said something to you that we both kind of went back and forth, like we felt it. And it was, the salon wasn't lacking culture. It was just the culture of the salon was what you were getting. Mm-hmm. So I want you to realize that no salon or no company is lacking culture. If you've got people who are showing up late or not wanting to come back to work or not wanting to do these things, not wanting to do all these things, that's your culture. And there's a reason why it's there. So we've got to not build a culture, but adjust the current one that you have. And that's not going to be in a day. But I think it starts with your reason why. You have to be solid in what it is that you're doing. For me, with our company, we wanted to build great people who happen to do hair. Period. That's it. So when someone came up against me saying, why are you telling me about Instagram when I just want to be a hairdresser? I'm building great people who happen to do hair. And I've lost people because, I lost one of my number ones because I told everyone that they had to make their bed, take a picture of it and send it to an accountability partner. And you know what they said to me? You can't get inside my personal life. That's me personally. And I went back to, we're building great people who happen to do hair. Your reason why has got to become the foundation of what it is that you're doing. And once that starts to happen, then once the reason why happens, then you can start to build your leadership based off the reason why, right? Mm-hmm. Your culture will become a byproduct of your leadership. Not what you say, but what your leadership is doing. So your culture will be what your leaders are doing. So if your culture is people are showing up late, they're back talking, all that stuff, you just got to look at your leadership. But if you look at your leadership, you got to look at your reason why. So everything comes back to me as the founder, right? So I go why, I go leadership, I go culture, and finally I go systems. Because everybody's looking for a system to fix everything they have when that's actually reverse. Because if I fix a system, I've still got a culture that's broken, I still got leadership that's broken, and I don't know my reason why. No system in the world is going to fix that. So start with your reason why, go to your leadership, go to your culture, and your systems will be a byproduct of that, right? And obviously, Tina, as we talk and some of the people are on here, I heard Monique said, my why, the love of hair artistry and the love for people. What I would suggest is Monique, and I'm not your coach, but if I was, I would turn that around. Because if your love is for the hair artistry, you got to realize that, now the last part that you said, the love for people, that love for people has got to be first.
Yes.
It's got to be first. Mm-hmm. Because if not, you're going to look at people as a canvas. So I would look at those things. But again, I'm not your coach. I can be in the future, but I'm not. But if I was, that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's so good. So how do people fix their leadership? Let's jump into that and also get Kelly's book, 6 Indicators for Life, and hire him as a coach, because I know I do. So how can you fix your leadership? Because leadership's a process. It's not an event. So what's your recommendation to everyone on this call today?
Well, I would make sure that your reason why is solid. Because when that is, and my wife has taught me this for a long time, I went from, and you know me, you guys seen this process, I went from literally just blazing trails and a bunch of people following me, right? and just saying like, I just want to go. I just want to go. And then there's this middle part that I've had, and you guys watched it happen, where I turned my attention and tried to grab people and pull them with me. Mm-hmm. Tina, I want you to think silently. You don't have to name any names. Sean, I want you to think silently. Don't name any names. But you probably can think of a name that pops in your head right now that I was dragging with me, saying, no, I'm going to help you to be successful. I want to show you. I'm going to pull you along on this journey. Am I correct on this?
Right.
So leadership is about number one, leadership is about serving. So if you want to be a leader, you got to serve all the people around you, right? But the best way that you can serve them is by understanding and knowing that you are perfectly, wonderfully made, and anything contrary to that is a lie. That, therefore, move towards your purpose, and your purpose is simply identifying your gifts, go give them away. So when I was blazing trails, I had no challenge with people coming right along. When I turned my attention back on these guys and said, come on with me, come on, you can do it. I scared them, and I'll tell you like this. Okay, there's a great white shark, right? Great white shark, greatest predator in the ocean. Great white shark going this way. There's little fish that come up alongside of them, eat stuff off of them. Da-da-da. Great white shark going. Leader, you are the great white shark. If that great white shark turned around and even smiled at all those fish, all the fish would scatter. So I believe that true leadership is simply going after your purpose, and all the people who need to follow or need to be around will choose to be there. But the moment as a leader that you turn around, even if you're smiling, can you imagine a great white shark smiling with 160 teeth and looking at you, and all you scatter, and this great white shark is like, why aren't you coming along? I was smiling at you, telling you, and all the fish are saying, no, you're the greatest predator in the world, and you just showed me your teeth. I think you're going to eat me. That's what happens in companies and corporations when the CEO or the owner is not just simply moving towards their purpose. Can you imagine if JP was going on and turned around and reprimanded you? You know how huge that would knock you out.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that sometimes, like a Sean, realizes that when Sean, great white shark in himself, turns around and says, hey, everybody, we need to do X, as opposed to just doing X. When you're doing X, all the people just fall in line. And I wish I would have known this. And literally, I think leadership is not dragging people along. It's about going and doing what you're purposed to do, and people will fall in love with it. And if they choose to follow, then they'll follow.
Wow. This is huge, Kelly. How do people get a hold of you?
Couple ways. KellyCardenas.com is going to be there. I'm going to give you my personal email address. It's kellyc@kellycardenassalon.com. That's kellyc@kellycardenassalon.com. You can follow me on Instagram, which is The Real Kelly Cardenas. You can follow me on TikTok, which will help me out with my daughter because she's 11 and she thinks I'm cringy. So that's The Real Kelly Cardenas 23. And then you could call me. I'll give you my phone number, 702-327-7638.
I love it. You're amazing, Kelly. And he is the best coach in the world, as you can all see for sure. So definitely follow him on his podcast, Kelly Cardenas podcast.
Yeah. The Kelly Cardenas podcast. Please do that for me.
Amazing.
It's that, and it's not just about hairdressers. It's about leadership. It's about life. And like, we have some of the most ridiculous guests on there. Like, I just had the general manager of the Tennessee Titans, the president of the Michael Mina Group. I have a Grammy Award winner, which is coming on, Switchfoot. He's already recorded. He's going to be released. I did my daughter's favorite pop star, which is one of the Kids Bop kids. And so I interviewed him for my daughter. So it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I love it. And I think some of the best leadership lessons are learned outside of our industry as well, too. So that's what I love about you, Kelly. And I've done the same thing. So Kelly, Thank you so much for this. I mean, honestly, we could go for hours because you have so much information. Everybody's like, drop the mic. This is brilliant. You just shifted a lot of minds today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Love
Thanks,
you, Kelly.